Hey, so you guys, yes, I look horrible and I feel worse. So, Jimin is going to be doing the reading for today. At the beginning of June, Levin's old nurse and housekeeper, Agatha Mikhavlonia, happened to slip as she was carrying to the cellar a jar of mushrooms which she had just pickled and sprained her wrist. A talkative young medical man who had only just qualified had been appointed doctor for the Zemstvo district arrived, examined the hand, said it was not sprained, and enjoyed a talk with the celebrated Sergius Ivanich Kosnichev. He told him all the gossip of the district to show off his enlightened views and complained of the unsatisfactory conditions prevailing there. Kosnichev listened attentively, asked questions, and enlivened by the presence of a new listener, became quite chatty, made some pointed and weighty remarks respectfully appreciated by the young doctor, and reached that state of animation his brother so well knew, which generally followed a brilliant, lively conversation. After the doctor's departure, Kosnichev felt inclined to go to the river with his fishing rod. He was fond of angling and seemed proud of being able to like such a stupid occupation. Constantine, who was obliged to go to the cornfields and meadows, offered to give his brother a lift in his trap. It was just the time of the year, the turning point of the summer, when the result of that year's harvest becomes assured, when the autumn sowings have to be considered, and when the hay harvest is close at hand, when the gray-green rye waves formed but as not yet swollen ears lightly in the wind, when the green oats, with irregular clumps of yellow grass interspersed, stand unevenly on late-sown fields, when the early buckwheat spreads out and hides the ground, when the fallow land trodden as hard as a stone by the cattle is half-plowed, with here and there long strips omitted as too hard for the plow, when the smell of dried heaps of manure in the field mingles with the honeyed perfume of the grasses, and waiting for the scythe, the lowland meadows lie smooth as a lake by the river's banks, showing here and there black heaps of weeded sorrel stalks. It was the time of that short pause before the labor, yearly renewed, of getting in the harvest, which always demands all the peasant's strength for its accomplishment. This is not AI generated, by the way. I need y'all to know that. The promise of the harvest was splendid, the weather clear and hot, and the short night dewy. The brothers had to pass through the forest on their way to the meadows. Kosnichev was all the while filled with admiration for the beauty of the thickly leaved forest, and kept pointing out to his brother the old lime trees, looking so dark on the shady side, covered with creamy buds all ready to burst into blossom, or the new shoots, sparkling like emeralds on the trees. Constantine Levin did not like talking or hearing about the beauty of nature. Words seemed to distract from the beauty of what he was looking at. He assented to what his brother said, but could not help thinking of other things. When they emerged from the forest, his attention was arrested at the sight of a fallow field and a hillock. Yo, that's what's on my mind right now, I'm not gonna lie. Whew! Here and there, yellow, with grass broken up and cut into squares, and some parts speckled with heaps of manure or even plowed. A string of carts was moving over the field. Levin counted the carts and was pleased to see that sufficient manure was being brought. At the sight of the meadows, his thoughts turned to the hay harvest. The thought of the hay harvest always touched him to the quick. When they reached the meadow, Levin stopped. At the roots of the thick grass, the morning dew still lingered, and Kosnichev, afraid of wetting his feet, asked his brother to drive him across the meadow to the willow clump near which perch could be caught. Though Constantine was loth to crush his grass, he drove across the meadow. The tall grass twined softly about the wheels and the horse's legs, leaving seeds on the wet spokes and hubs. Kosnichev sat down by the willows, while Levin led away his horse, and having tethered it, stepped into the immense gray-green sea of grass, so dense that the wind could not ruffle it. In the meadow, which was flooded every spring, the silky grass, now scattering seeds, reached almost to his waist. When Constantine Levin had passed right across the meadow and reached the road, he met an old man, with a swollen eye, carrying a swarm of bees in a skep. Have you found it, Fomitch? He asked.
Found it indeed, Constantine Dmitrich. I only hope not to lose my own. This is the second time a swarm has got away, and it's only thanks to those lads here that I got this one back. They were plowing for you, and unharnessed a horse and galloped after it.
Well, Fomitch, what do you think? Shall we begin mowing or wait a little?
Oh, well, our custom is to wait till St. Peter's Day, but you will always mow earlier. Why not, God willing? The grass is fine. There will be more room for the cattle.
And what do you think of the weather?
That's God's business. Perhaps the weather will keep fine, too.
Levin went back to his brother. Though he had caught nothing, Kosnichev did not feel bored and seemed in the best of spirits. Levin saw that he had been roused by his conversation with the doctor and wanted to have a talk. Levin, on the contrary, was impatient to get home in order to give orders about hiring the mowers on the morrow, and to decide about the hay harvest, which greatly occupied his mind. Well, let's go, said he. Where's the hurry? Let's sit here a little. How wet you are! Though nothing bites, it's pleasant. Hunting and similar sports are good because they bring one in touch with nature. How lovely this steel-colored water is, said he. And these grassy banks always remind me of that riddle, you know. The grass says to the water, we will shake, we will shake. I don't know that riddle, replied Levin in a dull tone. Anna Karenina, Part 3, Chapter 3. Do you know, I've been thinking about you, said Kostashev. From what the doctor told me, and he is by no means a stupid young fellow, the things going on in your district are simply disgraceful. I have already told you, and I say it again, it is not right to stop away from the Zemstra meetings, and in general to take no part in its activities. If all the better was sort and stand aside, of course heaven only knows what will happen. We expend money for salaries, but there are no schools, no medical assistants, no midwives, no chemists, no anything. You know, I have tried, Levin replied slowly and reluctantly. But I can't, so what am I to do? Why can't you? I confess I don't understand. I can't admit it to be indifference or inaptitude. Is it possible that it's mere laziness? Neither the one nor the other, nor the last. I have tried and seen that I can do nothing, said Levin. Oh! Sorry. I had a siren for this. He did not pay much attention to what his brother was saying. Peering into the distance across the river, he made out something black in the cornfield and could not see whether it was only a horse on the steward on horseback. Why can't you do nothing? You have made an attempt, and because according to your judgment it was a failure, you gave it up. Fancy having so little ambition. Ambition? Reiterated Levin, stung by his brother's words. I do not understand it. If at college they had told me that others understood the integral calculus and I did not, that would have been a case for ambition. But in these matters, the first requisite is a conviction that one has the necessary ability, and above all that it is all very important. Well, and it is not very important, said Kostashev, stirred by the perception that his occupations were regarded as unimportant, and especially by his brother's evident inattention to what he was saying. They don't appear important to me. Do what you will, they don't grip me, replied Levin, having made out what he saw was the steward, who was probably dismissing the peasants from their plowing too soon, for they were turning the plows over. Is it possible they have finished plowing? Thought he. Come now, after all, continued the elder brother with a frown on his handsome, intelligent face. There are limits to everything. It is all very well to be a crank, to be sincere and dislike hypocrisy. I know that very well, but what you're saying has either no meaning at all or a very bad meaning. How can you consider it unimportant that the people whom you love as you maintain, I never maintained it, thought Levin, are dying without help? Ignorant midwives murder the babies, and the people remain steeped in ignorance, at the mercy of every village clerk, while you have in your power the means of helping them, and yet you are not helping them because you do not consider it important. And Kostashev confronted his brother with his dilemma. Either you are so I thought it said you are so unemployed. Either you are so underdeveloped that you don't see all you might do, or you don't want to sacrifice your peace of mind or your vanity. I don't know which in order to do it. Constantine felt that there was nothing for him to submit, or else to own a lack of love for the common cause, and he felt wounded and grieved. But one and the other, he said resolutely, I can't see how it is to be done. What? Don't see how medical help can be given by distributing money in a proper way? Well, it seems impossible to me to give medical help over the whole of the 3,000 square miles of our district, with our deep snow impassable when it begins melting, our snowdrifts, and the pressure of work at harvest time is impossible. Besides, I have no faith in medicine generally. Come now, that is unjust. I could cite thousands of cases to you. And how about schools? Schools? What for? What do you mean? Is it possible to doubt the utility of education? If it is good for you, why not for everybody? Constantine felt himself morally cornered, and in consequence became excited and involuntarily betrayed the chief cause of his indifference to social questions. All this may be very good, but why should I trouble about medical centers, which I should never use, or schools which I should never send my children, and to which the peasants would not wish to send theirs either, and to which I am not fully convinced they ought to send them, said he. This unexpected view of the question took Kostashev by surprise, but he immediately formed a new plan of attack. He remained silent a while, lifted his rod and threw the line again, and then turned his brother with a smile. Now, Let's see. There is a need of a medical center after all. Did we not send for the district doctor for Agatha Mikavlonia? But I think her hand will remain crooked all the same. That is very questionable, and that a peasant who can read and write is more useful to you and worth more. Oh no, ask anyone you like, said Constantine decidedly. A peasant who can read and write is far worse as a laborer. They can't mend the rods, and when they build the bridge, they steal. However, all that is not to the point, said Kostashev, frowning. He did not like to be contradicted, especially when he was met with arguments that incessantly shifted their ground, introducing new considerations without sequence, so that it was difficult to know which of them to answer first. Wait a bit. Do you admit that education is a good thing for the people? I do, replied Levin unguardedly, and at once realized that he had not said what he really thought. He felt that, since he admitted this much, it would prove to him that he was talking meaningless twaddle. How it would be proved to him, he did not know, but he knew that it certainly would be proved logically, and waited for that proof. The proof turned out to be far simpler than Constantine anticipated. If you admit it to be good, said Kostashev, then, as an honest man, you cannot help loving and sympathizing with such movements and wishing to work for them. But I am not yet prepared to say that such work is desirable, returned Levin. What? Why, you said just now. I mean, I consider it neither desirable nor possible. You can't tell without having tried it. Well, let's grant it so, said Levin, though did he not grant it at all. Still, I don't see why I should be bothered with it. What do you mean? No, since we have started on that topic, perhaps you had better explain it to me from a philosophical point of view, said Levin. I don't see what philosophy has to do with it, replied Kostashev, in a tone that made it seem, at least Levin thought so, that he did not consider his brother had a right to argue on philosophical questions. This irritated Levin. This is what it has to do with it, he said, getting heated. I believe that in any case, the motive power of all our actions is our personal happiness. Wait, who says this? Wait, no, this is Levin saying this, I'm pretty sure. This is what it has to do with it, he said, getting heated. I believe that in any case, the motive power of all our actions is our personal happiness. At present, I, a nobleman, see nothing in our Zensfro that could be conducive to my welfare. The roads are not better and cannot be made better, and my horses do manage to pull me over the bad ones. I don't require doctors and medical centers. I don't need the magistrate. I never reply to him and never will. I not only not require schools, but they would even do me harm, as I have already told you. To me, the Zemstro mean nothing but a tax of 2 kopecks for Destania, and my having to go to the town, sharing a bed with the bugs, and listen to all sorts of nonsense and nastiness, and my personal interests do not prompt me to do it. Come, smiling, interrupted Kostashev. It was not our personal interest which induced us to work for the emancipation of the serfs, and yet we did it. No, Constantine interrupted, growing more and more heated. The emancipation of the serfs was quite a different matter. There was a personal interest in that. We wanted to throw off a yoke that was oppressing us all good men. But to be a member of the council, to discuss how many scavengers are required, and how the drain should be laid in a town which I'm not living, to be on the jury and try a peasant who has stolen a horse, to sit for 6 hours on end, listen to all sorts of rubbish jabbered by the council and prosecutor, and to the president asking our idiot Oleshka, prisoner at the bar, do you plead guilty to the indictment of having stolen a horse? Eh? Constantine Levin was being carried away and was personating the judge and the idiot Oleska. It seemed to him all this was relevant to the case in point, but Kostashev shrugged his shoulders. Well, what do you want to prove by that? I only want to prove that I will always stand up with all my powers for... Wait. Who's texting? Where's my phone even, dude? I don't know why it sounds like... Okay. Okay. Well, what do you want to prove by that? I only want to prove that I'll always stand up with all my power for the rights which touch me in my personal interests. When they searched us students and gendarmes and read our letters, I was ready to defend with all my power my right to education and liberty. I understand conscription which touches the fate of my children, of my brothers and myself, and I am ready to discuss what concerns me. But how to dispose of 40,000 rubles of Zanstro money, or how to try the idiot Oleshka, I neither understand nor can take part in. Konstantin Levin spoke as if the dam of his flood of words had been broken. Kazashev smiled. And tomorrow you may be going to law. Would you rather be tried in the old criminal court? I won't go to law. I'm not going to cut out anybody's throat, so I shall never be in need of that sort of thing. All those natural institutions of ours, he said, again jumping off to a subject that had no bearing on the case in point, are like those little birches that are cut down for decoration in the winterside, and we Russians stick 'em up to imitate the woods that have grown up naturally in Western Europe. I cannot water these birches or believe them from my soul. Kazashev only shrugged his shoulders to express his wonder at the sudden introduction of little birches into their discussion, though he had once grasped his brother's meaning. Wait a moment. One can't reason that way, you know, he remarked, but Constantine, wishing to justify the failing of which he was aware in himself, his indifference to the general welfare, continued. I think that no activity can endure if it is not based on personal interest. That is the common and philosophical truth, said he, emphasizing the word philosophical, as if he wanted to show that he might talk about philosophy as much as anyone else. Kazashev smiled again. He too has some philosophy or other to serve his inclinations, he thought. You better leave philosophy alone, he said. The principal task of philosophy has always in all ages been to find the necessary connection existing between personal and general interests. But that is not the point. I need only correct your illustration to get to the point. The birches are not stuck in, some of them are planted, and others are sown and have yet to be tended carefully. Only those people have a future, only those people can be called historic, who have a sense of what importance and what great in their institutions value them. And to prove the inaccuracy of Levin's views, Kazanchev carried the conversation into the realm of philosophy and history, which was beyond Konstantine's reach. As to your not liking it, pardon me, but that only comes from your Russian laziness and managerial habits, and I am sure that in your case it is a temporary error and will pass. Konstantin was silent. He felt himself beaten at every point, yet he was sure that his brother had not understood what he had been trying to say, only he did not know why this was so, whether because he could not express himself clearly or because his brother either could not or did not wish to understand him. But he did not go deeply into these questions, and without replying to his brother began reflecting on a totally different and personal matter. Kazashev wound up his last line, untied the horse, and they started on their homeward way.